Want to know how to make your first 2K without running ads or chasing the algorithms? Because that's what we're talking about today. Hey, it's your girl, Sherri Somers Bell. Welcome to Monetize Your Influence podcast. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make your first 2K using just your voice. Let's go. See, you don't need a big audience. You need to know us how to have a stronger voice. So hear me clearly. I made my first 2K before I even had 1K following. You heard that right. And I'll show you how to do that. So let me just kind of dive into what that looks like and why am I even saying this? I just wrapped up how to get people to say yes to your masterclass. And I want to say this right after I was done. I'm like, yeah, we done. The masterclass was on fire. Then I got tons of emails from you saying, hey, I couldn't make it. We had 82 people sign up for that class and we had about 22 people on. So clearly there was something wrong and I get it. And I got so many emails, people asking that they want to come. So we are doing an encore of that, how to speak to get people to say yes to your masterclass. So if you miss it, we're doing it again. Again, based on when you're listening to this, we're doing it again coming on Tuesday, October 21st, based on when you're hearing this. So make sure you grab the link below to join our How to Speak to get people to say yes to your masterclass, because it's about what we're talking about today. Because most coaches are teaching too much. They're teaching their way out of a sale. They're teaching their way out of sale. I was just talking to one of my clients on Monday when we had class, and I was she did her presentation, and I was going back with her, and this is why you need to be in a place where people are coaching this. She did a presentation. I was going through how her presentation was done. First of all, I was so happy for her because it was her first presentation. She had 8 people showed up, not signed up, but showed up and came to her call. So we were going through how her presentation went about. And when I started talking with her, she realized, like, 'cause she's very smart, very highly educated. But what she realized is she was talking her way out of a sale. And again, because highly educated, they explained every single detail, hoping people will buy out of appreciation. But appreciation doesn't swipe a credit card. Authority does. Okay. And I must say this, I'm telling you that, but I'm actually talking to myself too, because I used to think that as well. I used to think that I have to explain every single step of how a person get results when I'm teaching a presentation or when I'm doing my content or when I pick up the camera or I'm picking up my phone and doing some type of content, whether I'm doing speaking content, I'm doing a voiceover, whatever it may be. And I realized, no, I don't have to do that. I really don't have to do that. So if you're looking to make your first 2K and you want to know, how do I do it? Because and you're saying to yourself, Sherri, I've been going live and I have been doing masterclasses and virtual events, and they just don't seem like they're converting. It just doesn't seem people are listening to me, to my content. I've been doing some talking head content where I grab the phone and talked to the people, and nobody is commenting and liking my stuff. And I want to help you with that today. All right, so let's dive deep into what that looks like. So, your audience claps doesn't mean convert. I want you to understand that. Oh my gosh, this is what I wish someone had told me. And that's why I love this podcast, because I get to tell you the things that I wish someone had told me. So claps and likes does not mean that on the back end, people are making sales. So if you look at my Instagram at this recording, I probably have 4,900 people that follow me. Not a big list at all. Not a big list. And not a big follower at all. But that small following does not mean that I have not been successful in my business. I've had a highly successful business. I've had 6-figure days, for God's sake, right? Several times. So if I was going by my followers to say if I'm a successful, the average person would be like, oh, well, she only have 100 followers, she's not successful, because I didn't understand what it means. And let me tell you why. Because the people who are truly winning, and they're very strategic and they play at a higher level. So a person who has, I realize that the person who deal with clients that have conversion, because that's what your goal is, right? You're trying to convert because you're frustrated that your content that you put out there into the world is not converting. Like when you're doing your talking head content, when you're showing up live at an event, when you're on a podcast, when you're on a panel, you're just feeling like you're not moving them to a sale. No one is calling your phone. Your calendar is empty. I know that frustration. So that's what we're here to fix today. We're going to go ahead and fix that so you can make your first 2K. And one of the reason why is your perception of what success or sales look like. We want to get rid of that right now. Number one, most of the time, the way a buyer buys is a little bit different. And I talk about this more on my virtual selling 7-figure challenge. We have a whole day where we go through buyer psychology. And the way a buyer buy, the people with the less audience but also more successful understands this. So they're not around creating content 3 times a day, right? Unless they have a team of audience that is doing that for them. Unless they have a team of people that's creating the content for them, they're not around putting out content 3 times a day. They're not doing that. And the reason why they're not doing that, because they don't have to. Let me say it again. They don't have to. They're playing at a different game. They're playing at a more quality versus quantity games, right? So their content that they're putting out, they're basing it on messaging more than they're basing it on volume. And that is so important to understand. Oh, Jesus, this is already a masterclass all by itself. And oh my, so I played the game of buying all these digital products and saying, oh, I got to post 3 times a day because I got to feed the algorithms, when that was not the case. Not saying more algorithms is not good. It's not saying that it's going to hurt you in a way. It's just saying putting out more content educates you, yes, on what the algorithms want, but I don't want to start a business model that I know that I'm not gonna be able to keep up with. I don't want to play in that space because I know I'm not going to keep up with it. So why even start it? That is not what I like to do. So the first thing is being clear on simplifying your business model. This is what I taught also inside of my class, simplifying your business model. And what I mean by simplifying your business model, ask yourself, is this the business model that you are committed to doing? And when I say committed, it's not saying you're not going to do it, but does it fit the lifestyle that you have right now? One of the ladies on the How to Speed to Get People to Say Yes to Your masterclass asked me, how do I balance it all? And one of the things I told her, I don't. There's no such thing as balance. But what I do when we're in launch mode like we are right now, when we're in launch mode, everything else get put to the side and I'm focused in on the people that I'm called to serve, which is you. And when launch is over now, I'm back to being mommy, wife, whatever I need to be again for my family. But they all understand, all hands on deck at that time. Some things may not get done. But the point I'm trying to make is, when you know, the people you're talking to, they know. So back to what I was saying. So the audience the buyer, when you understand buyer psychology, you don't have to put out content every single day, but you know how to put out the right messaging that reach the right person. You don't have to overteach, it's because it's not your offer, it's your tone, right? So it's not your offer, it's your tone and the way you present things, the way you say things. And so now it's the tone of where you say stuff, the way you do stuff. So it's about quality, not quantity. You can put out 3 content a week and make they're the best banging content they ever seen, and those content did do super well, than a content than a person who's been putting out 3-4 content a day. And I've seen it happen. So if you're judging someone to know if they know anything based on how many followers they have, you miss the mark. Because I know a lot of people who are at their 6 and 7 figure mark and they don't put out content. Like for me, you will see a lot of times you will see me committing to my stories, to my podcast, and to my email. Those are the 3 places that you will get communication from me consistently. Anything else is a maybe. Is a maybe. Now, what does that look like for you when you talk about making your first 2K? You can't sell authority if you sound uncertain. And let me say it again for the people in the back. You can't sell authority if you sound uncertain. So when you're putting out your content out in the world, when you're speaking out in the world, you want some assurance behind what you are saying, what you're teaching. You want some conviction behind the things that you are saying. The moment your voice carry a belief, your buyer's brain says, yep, she's the one I want to work with. Yep, she's the one. So when we're talking about making your first 2K using your voice, you have to make sure that you understand and be clear on what you are actually selling. What is the thing? What is that problem that you're solving? Because a problem you are solving, you know what is the problem, and you also know what is the solution you have for that problem. You know you have a solution for that problem. You have one problem and that one solution for that problem. And then in having that solution, you know who you're talking to. You know who you are talking to. And it's not for everybody. It's not for everyone. There's a whole bunch of people that's on your email list, but you're not talking to all those people on your email list. It's a certain caliber of people that you're talking to. It's a certain caliber of people you're talking to. So you know the one problem that you solve, you know the one problem, you know the answer to that problem, and you know the people who are right now looking for that answer of the problem you solve. Now, this may sound repetitive, like I've said this before. Now I'm saying it in a different way, so you may get it. Right. So now, but understand this. When you understand those people and the buyer psychology behind them, and I don't have time to go through all that. We have a virtual selling 7-figure challenge that's coming up. You can literally spend time with me and dive deeper on what that looks like, so you understand the way your buyer buys. My type of buyer and your type of buyer, they're different, right? They may be different. So I had to understand my buyer they don't like, they're watchers. There's some buyer that look at your posts and they don't comment, they don't like, they don't share, they're just watches. They're up late at night, they're maybe just prancing through your timeline, and they just watch. And they're watching, and they may not want to go first, but they're just watching and toying because they're interested in working with you. They're lurkers. They're observing. They're just lurking first to see if you say the right word that resonate with their soul. If you say the right thing. So here's where we go wrong and the mistakes that we make, and we may lose that sale. When we don't see that like, when we don't see that comment, when we don't see that ego being strike, when our ego is not, when we're not getting that ego stroke, we're like, oh my God, they're not interested in what I have to say. Let me go ahead and sell a lower tier thing, or let me lower my price. So you start trying to conform to a different caliber of people because you don't see response from from the people you're expecting to see response from. That's the one of the worst problem that you can do. When you start putting out messages in the world and you don't see the like and you don't see the comments and nobody's liking your stuff, nobody's commenting. So you're thinking nobody's interested in what you have to say. And because you think nobody's interested, you're just going to throw it to the dogs and say, okay, maybe I need to change my price. Maybe I need to decrease my. That's the worst thing you can do, because truth of the matter is they're watching. They're watching and they're waiting. Now, let me say this. What I have learned, because I've understand the way buyers buy, the goal is to figure out simplifying your business model, but magnifying your execution. That's the words I live by. Simplifying your business model, but magnifying your execution. And I'm going to grab my whiteboard and I'm going to kind of show you what that looks like, because I know y'all love when I bust out that whiteboard. Okay, so we are talking about how to use your voice to make your first 2K in your business. And I bust out the whiteboard. And if you're on the podcast and you're listening and you can't see me, that's okay, because I'm going to walk you through it. Or you can go to YouTube, because I will also have the video on YouTube here. So what I want you to understand, what we're trying to do is we're trying to simplify our business. We're trying to simplify our business model, but magnify our impact and our execution. Simplify our business model, but we want to simplify our business model, but we want to magnify our impact and our execution, right? So we want to keep our business model as simple as possible. What does that mean? What does that look like when it comes to training our voice? So how do we do that? We do that by knowing the one thing that our business need to be known for. One thing that our business need to be known for. And for me, is how to turn your voice and experience into a sales machine that sells. I even wrote a whole book about it. It's called The Challenge Code. So what is that one thing that your business want to be known for? What is the problem that you solve? So whatever that problem is that you solve, I'm writing the word problem down, right? What is the problem that you solve? That's that one thing. We're simplifying our business model. Then you're going to ask yourself, how many different ways? So this is us simplifying our business model. How many different ways can I talk about this problem? How many different? Because what happened, we get bored talking about the same thing over and over. We're like, okay, we've said it about 1,000 times, but really we need to figure out how many different ways can we talk about this, talk about the same thing, right? And when we talk about simplifying the business model, we're also talking about how can we get the word out there, right? How can we get the word about what we do out there to the world? How can we get that word out there about the problem we say we solve? How do we get that out there, right? And how many different ways can we say it for people to get it? That's what we're looking for. And when we do get the word out there, so we're going to send the word out there. When we do send it out there, that's step one. Step two is, now that I send it out there, how do I create clarity in the way I say it, right? That's number two. I'm going to send my word, but I'm going to create clarity in the way how I send it, so people can understand, even from a 6th grade level, right? And so that's it. And then the other part is number 3. I put this here. And number 3, now that I have, number 1 is send a word. Number 2, I have clarity. Number 3, how do I multiply that word? Multiply. Okay, let me give you an example and compound it, so it can compound. Let me give you an example. So let's say that let's say you help people eat healthier. I'm just going to give that example. So the problem you solve is you help people lose weight, right? Lose weight. Okay. So you help people lose weight. Step one is you want to send a word that you help people they lose their weight. So the first thing you say, okay, I'm going to send my word. How am I going to send my word? Through talking head content, talking head, which could be a talking head, which you could create talking head on IG, or you could do a YouTube like I'm doing right now, or you could do a podcast, right? Or you could send an email, right? So that's the word. You're going to send the word about how to lose weight. You're going to do it through these streams. And then you're going to be like, okay, but I'm sending the word, but I still need to be clear because I don't want to sound like everybody else. So a lot of people help people lose weight. So how do I get down to the specific thing that I do? You may help people lose weight using Pilates. So I'm just going to put a P for Pilates right there. So because I don't know, I'm into this Pilates thing, but your techniques of helping people lose weight is using Pilates and low calories. So that what will make you stand out more. So in your conversation, the clarity that you bring that help you to stand out is your conversation when you do your talking head, when you do your YouTube channel, when you do your podcast, when you do your emails. You're going to set yourself apart with clarity because you're going to dive deeper into your subtitle of what you do. It's under the health category, but are you even going to go down a little bit deeper and say not just health, but I'm also going to help them lose weight. But how I do that is through Pilates and low calories. So that's how I'm going to be able to help them do it. You're doing so you're setting yourself from every other health coach that is out there. So now that you're clear on what that looks like, you're super clear. Like there's a lot of people that teach how to do webinars and master classes and so on. But one of the things that my business does is not only teaching you how to do these virtual things, but it also teaches you how to use the presentation, your voice to speak and use those events to create authority, which that's what makes us different. And then now that you're clear on this, on where you're separating yourself from everybody else who does it, that you go to step 3, which is now you need to multiply. You need to multiply now that you're clear on losing weight, using Pilates, using low calories. Now I need to figure out a way, how do I multiply and this message so it can compound? How do I do that? How do I create that? How do I create that multiplication so it can compound? So one of the ways I love to do that while still simplifying my business model. Remember, we're simplifying our business model. One of the ways we do that is to be able and multiply that is to be able to have that event, right? Have that virtual event. In this case, it could be a masterclass that you commit to say, I'm going to have a masterclass that, watch this, watch this, go back to this thing again. So I'm going to have a masterclass that showcase my authority, that showcase that I'm the authority. And when I have this masterclass, as I keep having it, because it's part of my simplifying my business, but okay, I'm going to commit to having a masterclass once every quarter, once a month, once every 2 months, whatever work for you. What happened is that masterclass and the people who attend, it compounds. So first you're sending your word out, right? Step 1, to different platforms about the one problem that you solve. Then you're getting clear. You're making sure you're clarifying your message when you're doing these talking heads, when you're doing these content. You're always making sure that your message is super clear and super dialed in. And then as you do that clarity, number 3, you're creating a space where you're simplifying your business model so it can compound. And how you do that is creating some type of place where people can convert. And if you attended my my masterclass, How to Speak to Get People to Say Yes to You, conversion was one of the three things we talk about, was number two of what we talk about. It'll make sense if you attend. You understand what I mean? So it'll convert people because the people who attend that event, it keeps compounding as you have the event. So you're not changing your business model. That is not changing. But as you do it, your message keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And you're thinking you're here to make You're thinking you're here to make 2K. You went from 2K to 6K to 12K and so on, because you're not only does this 2K grows, but your audience start growing too as well, and you start being known for that message. You start being known for that losing weight, the Pilates, and all that. So now you are a complete brand in that space. You become a brand in that space. And that, my friend, is how you train your voice to make your first 2K. You train your voice to make your first 2K. You figure out what your problem is that you want to solve. You figure out that problem. You send that message out into different streams, different ways, talking head, YouTube, whatever you decide that works for you. You get clear on your message on how you send it out. You have to have a dialed in message. You're not just sounding like everybody else. And then number two, now you figure out a way to multiply that message. And you do that by figuring out a way to cultivate them. Instead of just converting, let me put cultivate here, rather, the word cultivate. Oh, Jesus, let's try this again. Cultivate. Cultivate. Okay, cultivate them. And then, because this is where we go wrong all the time. Most people speak about their business a lot, but they don't figure out a place to bring people in one space so they can cultivate and have a conversation, so they can be seen as the authority. So, because when you're talking in step two, when you're sending your message out about what you do, the people that you're sending it to at that moment, they're not really in a space to take the information in. So when you move them to a cultivated space so you can multiply your message and compound it, they're not in a space to hear you. They're interested, but interest doesn't bring income. So that's why you got to create a reasoning to get them to into a place where you can cultivate them. And that's where creating that virtual space where there's no overhead cost, there's no reason for you to spend money on anything, that you have what's in your hand, a Zoom link. And when you create that space, so they went from being interested in you to you inviting them without sounding salesy, you invite them to come into an event that you're having, whether it's a master class, a webinar, whatever it may be, and you invite them in. Once you invite them in, you get to see and find out from them what problem that they're having with existing problem that you say that you solve. And then you invite them in to spend time with you and to help get that problem solved with whatever solution that you say you have. And when you keep doing this model over and over, step by step, it compounds and it creates consistent, predictable revenue. Listen, if you want to know how to do this, how to speak to get people to say yes to you, what do you say when you send your word, you got to join me in my How to Speak to Get People to Say Yes to You masterclass. Make sure that you click the link in the description and join me on my next podcast. All right, talk to you later. It's your girl, Sherri Somers Bell. Talk to you soon.